everybody, I'm Mairead O'Cuinn, and I predict in 2019 that many developers like you and me will start using machine learning for the first time and will become part of our everyday work. So, just to give you some background, I'm also a software engineer at Liberty IT, and I work on the Workbook project, which is a tech startup within Liberty. We're developing a digital framework for intelligent workplace, and these are some of the features we're currently building out. So machine learning wise, at the minute we're using Amazon Next. However, we're in the middle of developing a data strategy to use machine learning in lots of other areas if possible. So why all the fuss about machine learning? Well, I think everybody has heard about it, and hopefully most people realise the potential it has for all industries. All these problems that couldn't be solved before are now within our reach. However, as the quote says, there aren't many data scientists who are the people, the experts behind writing all these algorithms that we need for machine learning around. So that's one thing to bear in mind. However, despite this, I think that going forward, developers as much as data scientists can help drive AI innovation through machine learning, deep learning, etc. So, just to recap on what machine learning is, it's the science of getting computers to learn and act like humans do and improve their learning over time in autonomous fashion by feeding them data and information in the form of observations and real-world interactions. Or a shorter form of this is teaching computers how to do human tasks without explicitly programming them. There have been some machine learning barriers to machine learning in the past. As you mentioned, the shortage of data scientists around. How many data scientists do you know compared to the amount of developers? Also, for machine learning, we need tons of data, and this could be a problem. So, to process this data and run algorithms over it, you need to have the right infrastructure in place to cope with that. So, for example, the last project I worked on, it was on a security team when I was working as a data analyst, and we had terabytes of proxy logging available within our system. So we thought it would be good to do some unsupervised machine learning on it, just to see what patterns were within it, what trends you could see. However, even though we had about a year's worth of log data, we could only actually get 5 minutes of this data out of the system before we even started to try to create it or train the algorithms on it. So that was part of my day. Also, conversely, even if you do have lots of data and you do have complete access to it, you may not have enough of the right kind of data. So for supervised learning, you need lots of examples within your data for what you're trying to teach your algorithms to do. So if you don't have enough of these examples, the models that you build will not be accurate. And then finally, there is a general overall fear in some quarters of AI and machine learning because people just don't understand how it works, and they're afraid if they adopt it, what consequences this might have. However, I think that as time's going on, fear most companies should have is that if they're not using machine learning, they should be, because they're really going to lose a competitive edge otherwise. So what do things look like today then, 2019? Well, thanks to the data scientists who we do have, they have done lots of great work in building out hundreds, perhaps thousands of algorithms, which we can use through different libraries and frameworks. So, for example, you have Python's scikit-learn toolkit, which is a machine learning library. There are lots of tutorials around for teaching how to use it. You also have TensorFlow, which is an open source software platform, which is specifically designed for machine learning projects. Also, if any of you are mobile developers, you could use Google's ML Kit. It's an SDK for machine learning, which helps you use machine learning to build out features on Android and iOS. And apparently you can use it for expertise in machine learning. So apart from all the algorithms and models are readily available, In terms of the data, there has been a bit of an oligopoly in terms of the data ownership. So in the past, most of the useful user data has been owned by the tech giants like Facebook and Google. However, there are companies like Mozilla who are trying to balance this out. So Mozilla have come up with their Common Voice project, where they're helping to democratize voice recognition data. So they've set up a site where everyone can go on and donate their voice for speech recognition, and you can also lend your ears and listen to people saying phrases and then type down what you hear. So they're trying to build this out as many languages as possible. I think they've even got Cornish in there, so if any of you want to get to that, that would be great. So hopefully as time goes on, there will be lots more voice data available at least. Anyway, this is so important. Probably the next TV you'll buy will be voice controlled. Just looking at this, you can see the data scientists have done so much hard work already. So I think now it's coming to time where as developers we can just take these algorithms and tools and start applying them to our work. So one of the ones that I've used on a side project was Amazon SageMaker. So it's a complete end-to-end machine learning platform where you can build, train and deploy your machine learning models at any scale. This can be used by complete beginners like me, right up to people with lots of expertise like data analysts or data scientists. So since it was launched in 2017, Amazon have kept enhancing it, so they've added features such as blind truth, which you can use if you need to label lots of data. It will actually use machine learning to label the data for you. And if it isn't too sure of what labels to give, it will revert back to a team of human labelers, so not to worry about that. There's also things like Neo, which will speed up deployment models, and they've added a new search capability because as you start using more and more algorithms, it's important to be able to find what you've done already and keep these organized. So that's possible with SageMaker as well. So there are two other new services just out from 2018. The first one, Personalize, can be used by anybody, and you can just use this for real-time personalization or recommendation, and it's built in the same technology that Amazon use themselves. Also, if you have time series data, you could point to this next service, Amazon Forecast at it, and it can start doing predictions for you based on the data you already have. So apparently these are all very easy to use. Another one I found was a tool called Data Robot. So this company is trying to automate automation, and they're very ambitious in their plans. They claim that their platform already has the power of 10 data scientists, and they believe that their tool can be used by people of all skill levels as well. And they really see the democratization of data science becoming more and more apparent. And apparently, Gartner have said that by 2020, most with the thanks of automation of data science tasks like what Data Robot's doing, most AI will actually come from non-data scientists, which they call citizen data scientists. So just another way of getting into machine learning or leveraging it if you don't have your own algorithms is to look in one of the new marketplaces that are springing up. Google has its own AI hub, which they say is a one-stop shop for everything AI. So he was talking about pipelines, Kubernetes pipelines here. You could just go in and buy one off the shelf and partly start using it. So if you're a startup online retailer and you wanted to have a recommender system like Amazon, you could just pick one up here. Also, there's companies like Algorithmia who can host your models for you, but they're also backed up by a very large marketplace of 5,000 algorithms, which you could just plug in if needed. So they can host your own algorithms and ones that you've bought. And it's a great way for both developers and data scientists to work together where they can mix and match each other's algorithms. It also gives you the ability to pipe algorithms together, and it's available in many different programming languages. So, for example, you could take one algorithm written in Go, get the results of that, and then pipe it into a second algorithm written in Scala, if needed. And I think this one makes it very flexible in terms of it's data source agnostic and cloud agnostic, so it would hopefully be a good fit for most companies. AWS also are in this marketplace area. They've got their own one for machine learning, and they've got all these companies selling algorithms on it. For example, there's Hoptic, which is a conversational AI company, and you can buy any of their algorithms, or Mairead, which are an innovation solutions company, and they've just launched 3 new algorithms. One's a Bitcoin indicator to keep track of your cryptocurrency. They also have an abusive content detector, so if you're worried about people posting malicious things on your website, you don't need to stay up 24/7 monitoring this. You could just use their algorithm to keep tracking things. One other area which I think is going to become more important is within machine learning is that of reinforcement learning. So you may remember Super Nanny from years ago. She used to be on the TV every week trying to teach toddlers to behave themselves. So the idea is like toddlers, they don't really understand what's going on. So sometimes they just try things out, like bite their mother's arms, see what happens, or and then Super Nanny's always there to sort them out. So if they did something bad, they'd end up in the naughty seat. If they did something good, they might get a reward, like a sticker. So reinforcement learning sort of works in the same way. You don't always need lots of data, but you try a trial and error approach to try out different actions and see what the outcome is. And then it uses a reward function. So if the outcome of your action is good, you'll get a reward, say an extra point. And if it's a bad outcome, you may be deducted points, so just don't get anything. So that's how this works. And it's also important that it's used in the confines of the simulation. So you need to try to accurately simulate whatever environment you're trying to train your agents in. So if you're interested in reinforcement learning, OpenAI is a good way of getting into it. So this is a non-profit research company founded by Elon Musk and Sam Altman, and they're trying to promote and build out AI in a way that's good for everybody. As part of this, they've developed the AI Gym, which you can see one of their environments there, the walking sticks. So this is where you can test out your reinforcement algorithms to do different things. Like you could try to train these sticks to like play ping pong or do kung fu with each other. Also, as part of their research, they've developed a team of neural networks called AI5, and they've actually entered them into a video game competition, and they were playing Dota 2 last year, and they managed to use reinforcement learning to train up these AI bots. I'm sure you can see them on the right there, to beat a team of professional human players. They got beaten in the final, I think, but they're hoping that by next year the reinforcement learning they've done will be so good that they'll actually win the whole competition. So what OpenAI are doing is they're trying to use all these algorithms that they're developing here through games and things, and then be able to put them to real life scenarios in the real world. So if you imagine like a delivery robot coming around trying to find the most efficient path to your house to deliver a parcel, you can maybe use reinforcement learning to train it. If you're working in Azure, you may be able to take advantage of Bonsai, which Microsoft bought last year as well. So they have developed a whole reinforcement planning or reinforcement learning platform, which abstracts the level mechanics of reinforcement learning. So hopefully that'll make things easier. Also, AWS are getting into reinforcement learning as well, and to encourage more developers to have a go, they've created their Deep Laser power toy, which you can buy for I think around $250, and you can use reinforcement learning to train it to race in a 3D simulator, and they've apparently set up a global racing league if you'd like to try that. There's also a medium on Steam called Why Should We Learn, which is another way of learning, reinforcement learning. It's about this guy who's a machine learning specialist, and he can't solve a problem and he goes some one day, so he goes to make himself a cup of coffee. In the meantime, his cat jumps on and solves the problem for him. So he's trying to build a cat speech recognition system to find out how his cat did it, so he can talk to his cat about it. So I think things like this just keep great if any of your STEM masters, you can maybe bring these into the classroom and show students how machine learning works and concepts used. So finally then, if you're interested in learning more about machine learning, here are some free resources out there. Amazon have launched all their training material that they use for their own developers within the machine learning university. So if you follow these modules, you can take a certification exam at the end. There's also a crash course within Google, and Microsoft have set up their own AI school for free. Sorry about that at this time. So overall, I'm looking forward to doing lots of machine learning in 2019. Hopefully some of you will try to. Thank you.
I'll take presenter's prerogative and I'll ask the first question. So, you're not done. There will be questions. So, can I ask you to comment on the legal and the ethical considerations around machine learning? The legal one being that you don't know how good it is at doing what it's doing or how it does it. So therefore you can't give any legal guarantee as to whether it's actually good to this extent or bad to this extent. And the ethical considerations, and that you might just be reinforcing past bad behaviour. Like there was the famous example of the ML system that was trained up to vet people's CVs, and it discovered that the best way to get a job at this organisation was to be white, male, and from an Ivy League university. So it's certain ethical problems there. So any thoughts on those two?
Yeah, well, certainly your machine learning can only be as good as the data you're using, but I think you could try using the synthetic data to balance out your data and hopefully make it a bit more accurate.
Yep,
so
sure.
when it is important to test the results, make sure you're not very systematic.
Yep, good. Other questions?
It is, but if it's your system, then you can at least have that control over it. And it is an option. So I think the more people use machine learning, hopefully the more ethical it will be. There's nothing like OpenAI, I mean, they're all about ethical AI, and AI not being all in hands of one company or hopefully it will evolve in a good way. But yeah.
Using humans for machine learning. So, for example, machine learning. You do know something that logical, but not logical.
Well, not from the machine learning, I've come across some interesting. Sorry?
Any amusing examples of machine learning systems that have come to interesting decisions, like being able to differentiate a wolf from a dog based on the fact that one will lead and the other didn't?
Not in machine learning I've done, but in data analytics, we did find that we did come across users working a lot on betting websites within our work. But when we actually dug down into it, it turned out that we sell equine insurance for horses. So that explained that. But they were quite excited. Security people were trying all these people betting for horses.
I actually have one story about my university. Back in the 80s, they were part of the first wave, of machine learning, and they were trying to train up an expert system to recognize natural language. and they turned it up. I turned it on one morning, and it spontaneously came up with the sentence, "Where are my arms?" And it was a complete and utter fluke, but I knew two of the researchers who were in the lab that day, and they thought they'd done a Skynet. Just for a moment they felt a very strong need to use the bathroom in that way. What have I done? So, any questions? Hit me. Yes?
So, do you think if we get all of our actions reflective of the world and reflection of the world, do we have a responsibility as our developers to essentially change the model and make it better world, what we believe it should be, or if it is not? So, if genuinely it's super
Did you think of some kind of philosopher? No, to answer your question, yes. And actually, you've just picked up on the theme of the next batch, funnily enough. Which is the ethical responsibilities of being a software developer. And I think machine learning is one reflection of that. Another reflection of the fact is just that there's too much data out there. So, for example, if you have kids and you've ever been to some of the Christmas pageants and so on, where they say you're not allowed to take photos, because some of the kids are adopted and some of them might have been adopted for abusive situations, and might be people who are looking for them and so on. But there's always one Muppet who takes photos, and now that Muppet will put them online, and stuff that goes online is increasingly searchable, in part through machine learning, and we also have algorithms now to age people and so on. So, I've become death, the devourer of worlds. We are producing more and more increasingly powerful technologies, and those technologies have access to more and more data. So I think there is a responsibility on us as software developers to think more about our citizenship, and how we become better citizens. And that doesn't mean we have to make all the ethical choices, but we have to start talking to the people who are making ethical choices. Which is why for the next batch we are hoping to bring somebody who's very experienced in moral philosophy to come and get into that a little bit as well.